Monster, the Ed Gein Story, ending explained by Charlie Hunnam. Who's the real monster in Monster, the Ed Gein Story? There are quite a few options, with both the viewers and society at large included. The interesting thing about the show is the thesis statement of every season is, are monsters born or are they made? Co-creator Ryan Murphy asks. And I think in Ed's case, it's probably a little of both. As the story of Wisconsin serial killer and grave robber Ed Gein, played by Charlie Hunnam, unfolds, the stories inspired by Gein's crimes begin to bleed through into the main narrative. This inclusion of characters like Alfred Hitchcock, Tom Hollander, is crucial to the story Murphy and co-creator Ian Brennan are telling. As they portray it, the media that Gein watched and consumed informed his deadly pursuits. This whole series, it turns the camera right on us, Brennan tells Hunnam. It really matters what you look at and the images and stories you consume. They do stick with you, and they do have an impact. Who was the monster? This poor boy who was abused his whole life then left in total isolation, suffering from undiagnosed mental illness. Hunnam asks Hunnam. Or the legion of people who sensationalized his life for entertainment, and arguably darkened the American psyche and the global psyche in the process? The answer, as it turns out, may be all of the above. Monster, the Ed Gein Story tackles every aspect of Ed Gein's life. His abuse at the hands of his mother, Augusta Gein, Laurie Metcalf, his fascination with Nazi war criminals, his grisly crimes against the women of Plainfield, Wisconsin, and finally his incarceration and diagnosis. He really contained these multitudes of tone and subject matter, Brennan says. We left no stone unturned. We really painted as big of a picture as we possibly could have. What happens to Ed at the end of Monster, the Ed Gein Story? In the final episode of the series, Ed's fantasies have taken a turn. Rather than being violent and upsetting, they show him helping FBI agents catch Ted Bundy, John T. O'Brien, a delusion that the hospital nurses take in stride. Ed, sick with cancer, meets Adeline one final time. She tells him she'll carry on his work, kill people, embrace her inner darkness. Surprisingly, he asks her not to and leaves, a far cry from their previous dynamic. There was a brief moment when Murphy and Brennan imagined Ed would be visited by someone else entirely in the concluding episode. The finale of this show was originally called Mama's Boy. That was going to be the brilliant Laurie Metcalf visiting Ed in the asylum, says Murphy, explaining that they realized that might not have been what Ed really wanted at that moment. We quickly abandoned that and came up with the kind of all that jazz tribute. And also we wanted to talk about, yeah, it was a dark legacy. There were many dark creatures in our world, Richard Speck, Ted Bundy, who were influenced and obsessed with Ed for all the wrong reasons. Toward the end of his life, Ed sees a vision of the many killers he inspired ushering him down a long hallway and smothering him with praise. It's the most tonally challenging part of the show to me in that he's not horrified by it, Brennan says. He sort of loves the fact that he made a mark. In a subsequent vision, on his deathbed, Ed moves past a crowd of dancing nurses and ascends a staircase where he's greeted by his mother. His final moments sum up the series as a whole. Augusta's there sort of saying, "You really made something of yourself," Brennan says. It's a really interesting sort of atonal note that we hit at the end, which I think in a way is right, because we've been with him for so long, but he's also a ghoul. He's also this deeply strange man who did really dark things that changed our culture. The show's final scene nods at that cultural influence, with a group of carousing teens trying to steal Ed's gravestone, a concept drawn from reality. His headstone is not there, Brennan says. It keeps getting stolen. The teens in Monster, however, are scared off by the echoes of Ed Gein, Norman Bates, Buffalo Bill, and Leatherface. Ed watches from a distance, smiling softly, and the series fades to black on the same image that closes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface and his chainsaw in a twisted dance. He's sort of haunting the proceedings, Brennan says. In a way, you wanted it to really sort of pay off how influential he was. Before the credits roll, we get one more glimpse of Ed, many years prior, seated next to Augusta. Only a mother could love you, she tells him, a self-fulfilling prophecy that would haunt the troubled young man until the end of his life.